very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on Citizen Extra. My name is Lillian Muli. Let's take a look at news shaping the day. And in the news today, it's the deadline for all aspirants seeking to go it alone at the August 8th polls. We'll be crossing over to the Registrar of Political Parties offices where the candidates have thronged to beat the deadline. Still staying with politics, various political parties are releasing the verdicts of post-nomination appeals. We will be telling you who is in and in which party, as well as those whose fate have been dealt a blow. For the winners in the political parties' primaries, the issuance of nomination certificates begins in earnest today. We'll be bringing you live these happenings. Also, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has this morning conducted raids at the homes of top officials of the National Lands Commission. We'll be letting you know more about this in the course of the show. And in the health sector, another crisis is looming as doctors, intern doctors and nurses across several counties down their tools over salary arrears. We'll bring you up to speed on this. And finally, the Kenya Bankers Association is releasing its Q1 housing price index. We'll break down those numbers for you. That is coming up on Citizen Extra. Our reporters are stationed in various locations as we follow up on news shaping the day. We'll be talking to Hassan Mugambi, who is at the Jubilee headquarters. We'll also be talking to Sam Ogina, who will be at the Gracia Hotel ahead of an ODM tribunal there. And of course, Jackie Maribe will be at Lions Place, where independent candidates will be issued with their respective certificates. As we start Citizen Extra, an extraordinarily cool Mike Sonko shocked many last night when he appeared on Citizen TV's JKL, that's Jeff Koinange, live for an interview, saying he is ready to be Nairobi governor. His cool demeanor came out as different from what we usually know him as. And let's take a look at Sonko as we know him before we talk to our analyst in studio, and that is Gabriel Muthuma, who is a political analyst, and Stephen Mogaka, political analyst and aspiring MP West Mugirango. So that is the Sonko we know, and unlike on previous TV appearances where he comes out as aggressive and tough-talking, he appeared very cool and calm yesterday on JKL. With me in studio this morning, Steve Mogaka, political analyst, and Gabriel Muthuma, also political analyst. Gentlemen, good morning. If you did watch JKL last night, just, to recap what we saw last night, and like in previous interviews, one case in point with Citizen TV's Hussein Mohammed, where we saw a tough-talking Sonko, who also, really made very derogatory remarks about people living with albinism. Yesterday, he came out as a totally different person, and even when the studio anchor Jeff Koinange went ahead to point out that his competitors had mocked him over his academic credentials, he didn't fight back. What's this difference about? What's this change we're seeing in Sonko about, Gabriel?
Thank you, Lillian, and good morning. I think I would also pose to the question that you've just asked, may the true or may the real Sonko stand up? See, yesterday I actually watched the entire show, and I saw a character that I've never seen before. Kudos to his PR, because if he has strategicians who are working on his image, I think they have actually done it this time round. Question is this the person that we all know, who has just morphed into what we saw yesterday? Or is it putting up a show? That we have to wait and see how it works. Several things came out, and, you know, composed as he was, he never fought, comparing the interview with Jeff and the one we saw with Hussein. They are like two different people. There he was so battling, he was confrontational. You know, at one point telling Hussein to drink water. I don't know whether he had realized Hussein hadn't taken his daily dose of water that day. But yesterday what we saw was a cool, collected person, even though he messed up here and there, talking about the likes of Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg never going to school. I think he was not prepped for that very well. These are people who, yes, they went to good schools, but they just did not finish. So I think by him saying they never went to school, I think he was missing the line there. But just to talk about his image, I think he's morphed. Question what Kenyans should be asking is this the real deal, or this is just somebody putting a show? He has a lot of work to do, I mean, to redeem his image, given the fact that we've come a long way knowing Sonko as somebody who is showing. I mean, you've seen the pictures coming out there, you've seen the kind of phone he has in his office. You know, some of these few things have put him in the full glare of Kenyans, where they're like, you know, this is somebody who's just flashy, shows money, bling blings here and there. Are we ever going to take him serious? His PR is working. I mean, the person you saw yesterday, and if we can compare the person we saw from the yesteryears, two different people.
Stephen, is Mike Sonko playing to the gallery? Will the electorate be convinced? Do you think that he'll be able to redeem his image from what we previously, or rather what people previously associate him with?
Thank you, Lillian, and good morning. I think Sonko is doing what is required at the right time and at the right place. He has quite metamorphosized. Aside from the JKL show, I listened and watched Sonko on the Labor Day, and the kind of presentation he gave displayed Sonko as a leader. And I think Sonko is a politician who understands what his audience is and what his audience is looking for at any particular time. Those who have problems with Sonko's demeanor or previous demeanor are the bulk of those elites who want who are suffering from a look-like-me syndrome. And for Sonko, he knows his voter base, and he knows that the ordinary citizen is a hustler, and he understands that politics is all about drama. It is about what you exhibit. It's not about content. And I think when he was called to JKL show, he gave the elites who enjoy watching tele what they wanted to see. But when he goes to the slums and his voter base, Sonko will be the same Sonko. And I think the euphoria going around town is that, you know, Sonko is a person to watch for the gubernatorial seat, because nobody wants an easy sitting, an office, you know, governor. People want somebody who is relating with the voter, who is, you know, talking laterally with the voter, not the down-bottom communication. And I think so far, Sonko seems to be attracting attention from, you know, across the political divide. You cannot tell him that, you cannot box him to be a Jubilee candidate. He is actually a universal candidate, and for that, I think Sonko is doing very well, and whoever is packaging him is doing the right thing.
And we'll come back to this conversation, but before that, we're crossing over to Hassan Mugambi, who's at the Jubilee Party headquarters. Hassan, good morning. What's the latest from your end?
Well, good morning, Lillian. We're here at the Jubilee headquarters, where appeals are continuing to be heard. The determination of several appeals is yet to be announced here to the people. But then again, I am here with some of Joshua Irongo's supporters, that is the Laikipia County Governor, who are saying that there's only one constituency in Laikipia that did not have the gubernatorial results. Despite the fact that it had the senatorial results, it had the the members of parliament there being announced, the MCAs being announced, but then again, it doesn't make sense to them why the governor's results were not announced in that particular county. Hence the dispute that has brought them all the way to Nairobi just to agitate for their candidate. And I'll be speaking to some of them so that they can just let me know what exactly brings them here. How are you?
I'm good.
First of all, let's begin with the name and what brings you to the Jubilee headquarters.
Okay, I'm Minor James na nimekuja hapa Jubilee headquarter kuuliza haki ya Laikipia. Laikipia tumekuwa na shida kwamba tumekuwa na uchaguzi ambao ulikuwa haki na uhuru. Joshua Irongo akashinda, kisha kukuja hapa kwa Jubilee tunakuta matokeo mengine kwamba Laikipia North haihesabiwi. Ile kitu tunauliza, na tunauliza kwa heshima, na tunauliza mpaka kiongozi wetu Uhuru Kenyatta. Ile kitu tunataka kujua ni kwamba Laikipia North mkakubali matokeo ya MP, mkakubali matokeo ya MCA, mkakubali matokeo ya senator, mkakubali matokeo ya women rep. Kwa nini mkakataa matokeo ya Joshua Kahora Irongo? Hiyo ndio swali. Kisha nikuulize bwana Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, nikuulize bwana Muigai Kenyatta, twakuheshimu, twakupenda, watuambia tuko pamoja na tukakubali tuko pamoja, lakini swali ni moja, tunataka kujua ambao umeweka hapa kwa Jubilee, kweli ni watu tuko pamoja ama ni watu wanajitafutia? Kuna mtu anaitwa Faith Waigwa ambaye amepewa pesa akakataa kula ambazo zilikuwa zimepigwa.
Je, una ushahidi wa kutosha kwamba amepatiwa hizo pesa ambazo unasema? Manake haya ni madai.
Haya ni madai ambayo tumeyapokea katika hili jumba, ambao wako huku wanasema pesa zilibadilishwa. Hiyo ndio tunayojua, hayo wengine hatujui.
Na labda wewe utueleze nini kinakuleta hapa.
Mimi naitwa Philip Maitima kutoka Laikipia East. Mimi nilikuwa coordinator Gobet Ward ya kura ya Irongo. Na Irongo alishinda Mureithi na kura zaidi ya 1000 Gobet Ward yangu. Zaidi ya 1000. Tukienda na nyuke kwa Trading Center, kura zote zikahesabiwa. Irongo akawa na kura over 40,000. Na huyu Mureithi akakuwa na kura 30,000. Na akatangazwa na Trading Officer yule alikuwa na nyuki ndiye amekuwa mshindi. Na sisi tukatoka. Kukuja Nairobi ndio tumesikia Irongo amenyang'anywa certificate yake imepewa Daito Mureithi. Tunauliza hivi, sisi ndio tulipiga kura, watu hao wanaona na wale wengine tumeacha nyumbani, na tumetoka huko saa 7 ya usiku tukafika hapa. Tuulize hapa headquarter hii ndio ilikuwa inapiga kura ama ni sisi watu wa Laikipia tulikuwa tunapiga kura? Sasa kwa heshima kubwa ile tuko naye na Uhuru Kenyatta na Ruto, tuko na heshima kubwa na hawa, lakini wale watu wako kwa ofisi hii waangaliwa, kwa sababu watafanya Jubilee inaanguka, kwa sababu watu wakikasirika, watu wakikasirika vile tumekasirika, au naona watoto iko hapa, wakina mama iko hapa, wazee iko hapa, hatuja lala kusikia kura yetu ambayo tumetafuta kwa mwezi moja imeibiwa na siku moja. Kwa hivyo hatutakubali, kwa sababu Uhuru anasema uchaguzi utakuwa Uhuru anatuambia uchaguzi utakuwa huru na haki. Tunataka akuje hapa aulize ukweli ile tulifanya hapa, kwa nini kura imepotea kwa ofisi? Na sisi huko tulitafuta kura tukapitisha Irongo na over 10,000 against his opponent. Mbona hiyo kura inapotea hapa 10,000? Kama wanasema Laikipia North itubiriwa mbali, bila mzee huyu mwenzangu amesema MCA amechaguliwa na hiyo kura. MCA amechaguliwa na hiyo kura. Women rep amechaguliwa na hiyo kura. MP amechaguliwa na hiyo kura. Senator na hiyo kura. Mbona ya Irongo peke yake ndio imekuwa na kasoro? Ikiwa wako na ushahidi ate kura imeharibika, watu ambiwa watu wa North warudi wachaguane mpya tuone nani atakuwa mshindi.
Well, those are some of the concerns that are being raised here by the people of Laikipia County, just saying that they will not accept any results that will be announced by the Appeals Tribunal if it will not be swimming their way. We are still waiting for that particular announcement by Faith Waigwa, who is the chair of the Appeals Tribunal, and we will be keeping you posted on that. Now I hand you back to studio.
Hassan, before we let you go, Over 500 petitions. How many have been dispensed with and how many to go? There are those that are concerned that this process is taking too long. What happens to those who wanted to seek the option of vying as independent candidates, yet today is the deadline?
Well, today is the deadline, yes, and it was actually being read by some of the aspirants who came here yesterday. One of the reasons, one of the major causes of concern to them was that the party is playing a delay tactic so that they can be beaten with the time of, registering as independent candidates in as far as the being in the ballot paper in the next general election is concerned. But then again, there were more than 500 appeals brought forward to the Jubilee Party headquarters by Monday. But then again, they got to dispense with a lot of them without even telling us how many have been dispensed with. But then again, they said that they will be clearing all the backlog of appeals that they had by today, so that tomorrow all the aspirants will be going to Bomas of Kenya to receive their party certificates. Whether or not they will be able to actually deal with all the appeals that were before them in the kind of time frame that they put is another story altogether. Lillian?
That is Hassan Mugambi, who's at the Jubilee Party headquarters. Various political parties are releasing the verdicts of post-nomination appeals. And before we continue with our conversation on Nairobi gubernatorial aspirant Mike Mbuvi Sonko, with me in studio Stephen Mugaka, political analyst, and Gabriel Muthuma, who's also a political analyst. I want us to first talk about the issue of these petitions and the fact that the process seems to be frustrating persons who are uncomfortable with the results of the primaries or who have questioned indeed their losses, their respective losses. Today is the deadline for those who want to go it alone. Where then does this leave them? Muthuma.
Thank you, Lillian. Again, that's a very good question. I've been trying to also wonder about the very same thing, because it's already time bad for many aspirants who actually find themselves in a very in a very hard position. I mean, you still have to wait until the appeals board actually go through all the appeals and they exhaust all the mechanisms that they have to either pass that you validly won, or something has to be done. I don't know whether they have the time to go back and do fresh elections. I really doubt whether that time is there. So again, it comes back to the individual aspirant. What do you feel? Do you see as if you are going to bolt and just go independent, or must you wait and have faith in that process to ensure that time will come where you'll be declared the winner? So really, it's more of a gamble than anything. In my view, again, I stand on the fact that if you feel and this is to many aspirants, you're seeing it's getting hotter by the day. We just saw the other day the case about Jaguar. Jaguar actually spoke yesterday and he said he had the faith in the process. But does that mean that all the people who are there and looking at these cases, there are quite many, if you look at whether it's Jubilee or Wiper but mostly Jubilee and ODM, these cases are quite humongous and they will take time. So really, time is coming to an end and these people must make a decision very quickly. But I cannot envy any aspirant at this point, because you do not know what will befall you. So I mean, it's what somebody sits down to think and really realizes where do they want to move politically. If they feel that they trust the process of that has been laid down by the party, where your grievances are going to be heard and determined, and if you feel as an aspirant you trust that process, so be it. But if you look and feel as if you still are very strong in Mashinani or within the constituency or whatever leadership position you're looking you're going for, then, and you feel you can have the full weight of the people behind you, then I would encourage them, run independent.
Steve Mugaka, the Jubilee Party Appeals Tribunal, just tying into what Muthuma is saying there, declared Charles Jaguar, that's Jaguar, as the winner of the Stare constituency nominations. And again, today is the deadline for those opting to run as independent candidates. Where then does that leave Minor Commander, because this verdict was only made yesterday?
Thanks, Lydian. I think the processes that are going on in political parties, particularly resolving disputes, is a mandatory step in law, because remember, the political parties have in-house appeals boards. But Article 88 gives power to IEBC to scrutinize the decisions that are made by various appeals boards of political parties. So while today is the deadline for independent candidates, I think the law is elastic because it is a requirement that before any candidate moves the IEBC tribunal for an injustice done by its political party, it must first exhaust the party internal dispute resolution mechanism. And it is the decision of that appeals board that has to be presented to the IEBC tribunal to be reviewed or to be looked at and be certified as correct and upheld. So really then what we are facing is a constitutional crisis, because while the law demands that a complainant must exhaust the internal dispute mechanism, and this internal dispute mechanism is giving a decision out of time, then the various aggrieved candidates must again go before the IEBC, and IEBC will take time before it renders its final decision. And in the event that a candidate dissatisfied with the IEBC decision wants to go independent, they must be allowed to do so. So I see various constitutional petitions being filed at the High Court to ensure that that time is expanded. So what I would encourage the ardent party supporters is not to bolt at this stage for fear that they will be locked out of time to be independent candidates, but to be faithful to the judicial or the dispute resolution mechanism that is in place. And I believe justice will ultimately be given. And if they were true winners, let them not bolt and try to run independent, because this crisis of independent candidates is going to lengthen the ballot papers and is going to create a crisis to IEBC. Because, Lydian, imagine every independent candidate appointing an agent to go and crowd in the polling station. And it is really going to create a crisis. And if I were having the powers, this question of independent candidates should have been scrapped, because the intention of bringing a law of anti-hopping was to make sure that people remain loyal to their parties. But the moment you have given a window for people to run independent, it then defeats that law and creates a major crisis at the polling station, which I think IEBC may not cope with.
Right, and as earlier mentioned, last night on Citizen TV's JKL, we saw a repackaged Mike Mbuvi Sonko, very calm, and our analysts in studio have said that they think his advisors and handlers are doing a pretty good job. Let's listen in, or we'll be listening in to excerpts from that conversation on JKL yesterday. Do we have that, Robert?
Nixon Lagat 0085. Sonko is so articulate. This is unbelievable. He is so smart and courteous.
Thank you.
What happened?
Gubernatorial material.
Doubting that this man is not Sonko, playing it too cool. Where is the Sonko we know? Where is he?
I don't know.
What happened to that guy?
I don't know.
So obviously a repackaged Sonko there. Musoma, this reminds me of the Donald Trump scenario, and you know, that was a surprise for Americans. Yet the Nairobi elite may be of the opinion that just like Donald Trump, Mike Sonko is rough around the edges. His education has been questioned. you know, as well as his managerial skills.
Well, Lillian, again, very true. If we do a comparison between Sonko and someone like Donald Trump, you're very right. Almost everything about Sonko has been questioned. It's not only his academic credentials. I mean, you've heard people question where he gets his money or how he makes a living. He told us yesterday that he only makes 1,000, and actually deepening the suspicion that people have. I mean, how do you survive with 1,000 shillings every month? I mean, things are deepening, but at the same time, people, I mean, the young people are still liking him, and actually he's adored by many. I think what Sonko has realized, Lillian, in my own view, is that he has seen the votes that matter may actually not be on his side. What am I talking about? There's what Mogaka is calling the elitist vote, and this is a vote that actually tilts you to win. Now, I think what he's doing, he's endearing himself to that particular caption of the votes of elitists who actually will come and vote not for the bling bling, not for the Sonko rescue team. Half of the time they don't even need it. Most of them don't know what it is, you know, but they will come and vote almost to one of their own, and probably somebody like Kidero or Peter Kenneth would fit that bill. But Sonko has realized.
Just to interject, he did say yesterday during JKL that the high end or the elite constituencies, that was also a landslide victory for him in those particular areas.
I would still argue, because if you want us to go to look at the historic precedents, that is the vote that actually denied Waitito in 2013. They actually denied him the vote. Waitito had actually sold himself to what you would call the I don't want to use the name slum, but you know, to what we would call again, there's no better word to use it. You can call it low end. He had endeared himself to the Mwananchi down there. But actually, the latest one, they compared him apples to apples with somebody like Evans Kidero. You saw so many people within the TNA and URP, the Jubilee Coalition. Ask anybody in town, they'll tell you they voted for Kidero. So now, even if that was the case, and many people would argue the same, what Sonko has realized is he needs that vote, and that's why he's morphing to, you know, to what we are coming now to see of him. No crazy or funny hairstyle, you know, no bling blings, you know, on his hands. It is because he understands that that particular vote is very crucial to him becoming the governor. And I don't blame him, and I'm not blaming his handlers, because they know the criticality of that vote. I think, Lillian, the question we should be asking is this: is Wanjiku getting it right? And I think this must be spread far and wide. Is Wanjiku getting it right? Wanjiku, from where I stand, wants to make a change. True indeed, she really wants to bring in people with fresh blood, and I agree with Sonko when he said, you've been castigating me because of my academic credentials, but look at the PhD holders. What have they done any better? Have they been any better than myself? They are actually the ones taking us to the poor man's ball. So really, when you look at the grand scheme of things, what Sonko is trying to communicate is, I am the freshness that Nairobi needs, and this is how he's selling himself to Wanjiku. However, we have to question Wanjiku and ask, are you just changing leaders? Is it a change of guard? Or are you out for a true leader? Because in my own view, again, I believe we should not exchange leaders from a bad one to a worst. What we should do is get an incremental leadership of me saying that we need to get somebody who is better than, not worse than. And I think that needs to come out very clearly in terms of what Wanjiku is doing. But again, Sonko has sold himself well and has endeared himself to the people. Question is, will he get the elite, which is the vote, and I repeat, which is the vote that tilts to the win in Nairobi?
Mogaka, will he get the elite vote? And tying into that, this new character, whether it's sustainable and whether indeed this turnover, if you like, or his PR, you know, this reinvention is coming too late into the game.
Thank you, Lillian. I think I can't agree more with my co-conversant that the vote that matters did not participate during the primaries because those are either people working or doing their business. That vote was not captured during the primaries. And, and therefore, as much as Sonko overwhelmed Peter Kenneth's voters were not in the primaries. And that being so, Sonko's previous, I want to call it previous demeanor, is completely sunk in people's minds. And since the first impressions are really the lasting impressions, I doubt whether the makeover that was being exhibited really represents a metamorphosis of the person. I take it, and I think many business people would take it as a pose for a photograph for the moment, is a pose for a selfie for that particular moment. Therefore, requiring Sonko to really do, I don't know what miracle, to convince I want to call it the serious vote, the serious voter, that he deserves that vote. And that therefore makes Governor Kidero still a governor of the future, because really when you look at the working class, the elite, looking at the performance or character or conduct of Sonko, if it is detestable, then I think they may consider Governor Kidero a lesser evil. And therefore, I really want the handlers of Senator Sonko to really perform miracles to convince a serious voter in Nairobi that they want the destiny of their city to be put in an actor of that kind of nature.
And Musoma, what came out very clearly during that interview was the fact that a lot of these aspirants have personality-based conversations where, for instance, when JKL put it to Mike Sonko that, of course, that his competitors, that is Miguna and even Skidero, had questioned his academic credentials, he went on, you know, to talk about other leaders that have previously done very well in their respective mandates but have not had certain degrees of education. But then the issue-based leadership, in as far as what he intends to do for Nairobi, didn't come out very clearly, apart from, of course, the cliche traffic and garbage conversation. But it did not come out very clearly what it is that he intends to do differently for Nairobi County.
True. And again, Lillian, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't believe that education is the only yardstick for success. However, education matters a lot when it comes to injecting some level of sobriety, a level-headed person with a plan, who can come up with great blueprints, somebody who can stand in front of people, investors of this world, and be able to give them an idea and have them to buy into what he is selling. I mean, somebody, you know, there was a clip that was played yesterday about Evans Kidero, Governor Evans Kidero asking Jeff to ask Sonko whether he knows who the United Nations Secretary General is. And I am not saying this in a bad way, but what probably Kidero was saying is you need somebody who's all-rounded, somebody who can sell an idea. I mean, Nairobi, if you look at it, you're talking about 60% of our GDP. You're talking about 4 million people. Are you going to handle this to somebody who doesn't have a clue? True to the fact, Sonko also had a very good jab back to that when he asked, okay, you're telling me 1, 2, 3. But look at him. Look at somebody like Governor Evans Kidero. He holds the academic credence that any person would like. But what has he done for Nairobi? So when you look at what Sonko is throwing back, it's more of a tit-a-tat. We are just fighting back and forth, but nobody has what you'd call a clear blueprint of what Nairobi can be grateful for. But again, the pose or the element of Nairobi being a city that's headed for the future requires somebody who is very sober in matters wanting to know how will Nairobi look in the next 20 or 30 years. That's the kind of leader we want. And I told you, Lillian, I feel as if we do ourselves a disservice when we just bring in somebody because he has the acclamation of the majority. Is this the right person for this city? Who is the right person? How do we determine that this will be the leader who will take Nairobi to the next the next step, or who will actually intertwine Nairobi with the great cities of our world? And I think this is Wanjiku and